Motivation and inspiration are overrated concepts. Of course, these things are very important, but success is less about feelings and it's not even as dependent on our goals as we might think. Progress and happiness are more related to our habits and systems. Some habits that lead to success are obvious, others are more subtle. Today in the Game Changers Forum, I'm going to share 3 underrated habits that can change the game right where you are. Well, back in 2018, author James Clear released a new book that I've got right here beside me called Atomic Habits. Love this book. Now, I didn't hear about Atomic Habits until probably sometime in the year 2020. I remember I was talking on the phone to a friend, and he said, "Have you ever heard of Atomic Habits?" Well, I hadn't heard of it, but I thought, man, that's a pretty cool title for a book. But I didn't really understand what the title meant. So when my friend explained what Atomic Habits means, he also added a nice little compliment and said, "Hey, you're a pretty disciplined person. There's probably not a whole lot in Atomic Habits for you to learn." Well, let me tell you, my friend was wrong. I learned a ton from the book Atomic Habits. And if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. So Atomic Habits is all about how small or atomic improvements in our habits, they compound and they add up to big change over time. Well, that idea has inspired and guided a lot of my thinking and living ever since then. Look, goals are really important and we should have them to know where we want to go. But if you don't have strong systems and habits, you're going to have weak and wobbly legs that carry you towards your goals, and you may not even make it to the finish line. So whether it's Atomic Habits or other books or stuff we hear on podcasts, there's all kinds of opinions regarding habits and ingredients that lead to success, whether that's success in relationships, business, athletics, or for creators such as myself. But I think there are some underrated habits that sort of fly under the radar screen, but can really be game changers if we develop them. So today in the Game Changers Forum, as I said, I'm going to share 3 underrated habits that can change the game no matter what field you're playing on. I would say these habits, they're not so obvious or noticeable, but they can really position us for success over the long haul. All right, so let's jump in. Underrated habit number 1 is this: vote before sunrise. Now listen, rest assured, this point has nothing to do with politics, but I would say its impact can help people on whatever side of the aisle you're on. But what I mean by vote before sunrise is this: do something before the sun comes up that sets the tone for the kind of person you want to be that day. Friends, there is something powerful about starting the day with a win early that positions us for more wins as the day goes along. So in this book, Atomic Habits, James Clear says this. He says, I love this line. I've got it drilled into my head. He says, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. And as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. Man, I think James Clear is spot on regarding how votes add up. But my take is that there is a unique power to early votes that create momentum for votes that are cast throughout the day. Voting early before sunrise, it is a great habit to have so that you start the day with action that positions you to be the person you want to be. Now, for me personally, and it's different for everybody, for me, it looks like waking up at 5:30 a.m. and going to the gym and working out. And I'm usually driving home. That means if I'm at the gym at 5:30, I'm usually driving home from the gym about the time the sun rises. And man, that is a great feeling when I'm driving down Holcomb Bridge Road and the sun's coming up. It feels good to cast that vote and drop it in this metaphorical ballot box before sunrise. It really is a game changer. Of course, it doesn't mean that the day is going to go smoothly, but I'll tell you what that early vote does. There's really 2 main things. First, casting that vote by going to the gym before sunrise, it really affirms an important part of the kind of identity that I want to have. I want to be a healthy person who takes care of myself. So starting the day with the win of going to the gym early, it's a vote. It's an action that serves as evidence that I am a healthy person. And that first vote, it creates momentum for more votes throughout that day. Secondly, I would say casting a vote before sunrise, it also serves as evidence that you're a person who can accomplish hard things. So I like the inspirational influencer, Sahil Bloom, and he says this. He says, look, there's no such thing as a loser who wakes up at 5 a.m. and works out. And I like that. I think it's a great idea. It's a great statement. But for our purpose today, I want to tweak it a little bit. Look, not everybody can get up at 5 a.m. I can't. Getting up at 5 a.m. it's just a little too early for my body. My body just doesn't do well with that. But I realize not everybody can get up at 5:30 a.m. Not everybody can go to the gym at 5:30 a.m., whatever it is. But here's what most people can do. Most people can cast a vote in some form for the kind of person you want to be before the sun rises. Here's the thing. If you're up and you're doing something positive before the sun rises, you've started the day with evidence that you can conquer hard things. It's hard getting up early and doing hard things. But when we do, it creates that evidence that we can conquer challenges. So along this line, I'm one of those crazy people who does cold plunges and daily cold showers, although I guess more and more people are doing that. So I'm not as maybe crazy as it was 5 years ago. But look, I've done a lot of reading and studying on the issue of the health benefits of cold exposure. And as much as I want to believe the health benefits, the actual physical health benefits, as much as I want to believe that those health benefits are as great as some people claim, honestly, the research is not decisive. But here's what's clear to me. The mental benefits of a daily cold shower are real. Taking daily cold showers in the morning may be helping me in other ways. Maybe they are helping my physical health. But here's what I know. Overcoming a cold shower in the morning is a vote. It's a vote for being the kind of person who can overcome hard things. And most days, for me, for you, hard things come up for all of us. But if we've done something hard or already started the day with a win, look, it just creates that momentum and we can keep rolling when faced with new challenges. So cold showers, going to the gym first thing in the morning, that may not be your thing, but casting a vote for the kind of person you want to be with some kind of action before the sun rises, it's a game changer. And it's a game-changing habit that creates winning momentum for your day. All right, so vote before sunrise. Let's move on to the second underrated habit. Second underrated habit that can change the game is this: solve real problems. You know, as I get older, I'm learning that it's one thing to be a problem solver, and it's another thing to be a person who can discern between real problems and imaginary problems. So I have a little theory I'm going to share with you. It's a theory about problems that I can't prove, but I'm confident in it nonetheless. And my theory is that at least 50% of the things that are categorized as problems are actually problems of our imagination and not real problems at all. Now, I'm very curious to hear your opinion on my theory and whether your experience affirms or maybe conflicts with my little theory. So feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. Of course, look, the actual percentage of my theory doesn't really matter. What matters is that our imaginations, especially when it comes to problems, they are very powerful. Scenarios we create in our minds can be misleading and frequently create problems that don't actually exist. And the terrible thing is that we and others sometimes suffer worse because of imaginary problems than we do for real problems. On this issue, I'm very thankful for my wife. She is so good at gently kicking me in the tail when I begin to catastrophize unnecessarily. Look, I've got a vivid imagination when it comes to problems, but I'm learning that the game can change here. There's a way to drastically reduce the creative energy we dedicate to problems. And here's how. When we face a problem, it's a game changer. If we can pause and ask ourselves the following question: is this a real problem or is this an imaginary problem? If it's an imaginary problem, we need to let it go as soon as possible because it's not real and we're suffering unnecessarily for it. Now, if it's a real problem, then we have a new decision to make that involves two questions. Is this a problem that can take care of itself, or do I need to dedicate creative energy to solving this problem? So, okay, back to my little theory. So within the category of real problems, my theory is that creative energy is only needed for about 50% of real problems. In other words, 50% of real problems will solve themselves and don't require us to jump in and start putting out fires. Sometimes fires, though real, they'll dissipate and go out on their own. Listen, if you want to earn respect and be seen as a game changer in any room, be the kind of person who could decipher between real and imaginary problems. And within real problems, only dedicate creative energy to problems that actually require a fire truck. Friends, this is not a habit that is easy for people to put their finger on. But if you can develop the habit of being a real problem solver, this underrated habit, look, if you can develop that habit, everyone will love having you on their team. Okay, so let's move on to our third and final underrated habit that can change the game. And that's this: love losing. Love losing, really? That's how we're gonna finish this and bring this thing home today. Well, okay, bear with me for a minute. Look, I'm a former athlete. I love competition. And even for those of us who are not athletes, we all know there's nothing to love about losing and failing, especially when there's serious stakes. It's never fun. But here's what my own failures and losses have taught me repeatedly. Some of the best stuff in life comes after losing. But there is a key to this, and that's this. We have to do the hard work of reframing our losses. Every loss is an opportunity for clarity and learning. And in that sense, we can learn to love failure and love losing. So recently I published my first book called The Weird Apostle, and it's a book about the Apostle Paul from a Jewish perspective. So it meant a lot to me to get that book to the finish line because over a 10-year period, I failed 3 different times in my effort to write the book. Now, one of those times, I wrote a full manuscript and even submitted it to be reviewed for publication. Well, look, each one of those attempts was a swing and miss, but I'll never forget what that reviewer told me after looking at the full manuscript that I actually submitted. Very gently, he said, this is going to take a lot of work to get to the finish line. Well, I knew he was right. Honestly, those first 3 manuscripts, they pretty much stunk. But I can tell you now, those failures were not in vain. With each of those attempts at writing the book, I learned what didn't work and eventually found what did work. With each manuscript, it became more clear to me who I was writing for and why I was writing it. So good stuff came from those losses. It took a while, but I found the winning approach with The Weird Apostle. Now, it's only been published for 6 months at the time of recording this episode, but it's done really well. It's actually sold already 3 times more than most books of its kind sell over their lifetime. Most importantly, though, it's helping people. But there is no way to find my voice and approach without some failure. Look, developing the habit of learning to love losing takes a lot of patience. And I don't have it mastered, but I'm learning that we've got to be willing to put in the reps as beginners on the way to producing something awesome. It's okay to stumble, fail, lose. But every time we do, it's an opportunity to grow. Learning to love losing by reframing it, it's an underrated habit, but it may be one of the most important habits that will eventually bring out the very best within us. All right, so my 3 underrated game-changing habits are: 1, vote before sunrise; 2, solve real problems; and 3, love losing. These habits are less visible than lots of others. These fly a little bit under the radar. But if you develop them, you will not be underrated. These underrated habits can change the game and help us win in every area of life. Thanks for listening to today's show. Hey, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. And don't forget to subscribe. And if you're on YouTube, I would greatly appreciate if you would click that like button and the notification bell so that you can be aware of when the next episode drops. And if you'd like to engage further, head over to ryanlambertforum.com. There you can sign up for the Game Changers email and learn about the Game Changers Forum community, which will give you access to exclusive resources, benefits, and opportunities for us to interact. Joining the forum community is also a great way to encourage our ability to create more game-changing resources. We're 100% financially sustained by our audience, and we greatly appreciate your support. So thanks for considering this, and we'll be back soon with more game-changing ideas for a life well lived.